Hello and welcome to Monday's Granada Reports. We are live across the northwest.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
A gang of sexual predators. They assaulted 2 young girls in Rochdale over the course of 5 years. Now all 7 are facing jail sentences for rape and other serious offences. We'll be live with the latest.
Arrests outside the Labour conference. A headache for Keir Starmer as the party gathers in Liverpool. But is his biggest problem Reform UK or someone closer to home?
If Andy were to come in through a by-election, I think he would make another wonderful MP, and of course, if there was a leadership challenge at some point in the future, he'd make a great Prime Minister.
They're going to score! It's going to be a dive for the line!
Talk about last gasp. How St Helens saved their season after time had run out.
Parcels and pop music, all part of the package at Marianne's post office in Barrow.
And Monday started off sunny, but then turned increasingly cloudy. But what does the rest of the week have on offer? I'll tell you later on in the programme.
So please do stay with us. But first tonight, they were passed around a gang of men and used as sex slaves. The truly terrible personal experience of 2 young women who were only girls at the time growing up in Rochdale.
Yeah, their stories are being told as a lengthy court case comes to an end, with 7 men, all of Pakistani origin and from Rochdale and Oldham, being sentenced for multiple sexual offences, including rape.
Well, the 2 girls they abused are being referred to as Girl A and Girl B to protect their identities. The judge praised their courage in coming forward.
Our reporter Emma Sweeney is at the Crown Court in Manchester for us tonight. And Emma, it goes without saying, doesn't it, that the evidence you've heard has been really distressing.
Well, that's right, Katie. This was a truly horrific case. It lasted for 6 months, and in that time, the jury were told how the victims were just teenagers when in the mid-2000s they fell into the hands of their abusers. The court heard how the girls were treated as sex slaves. They were expected to have sex whenever and wherever, on filthy mattresses and flats, in cars, in car parks, in alleyways. Now, one of the girls today, Girl B, gave a personal impact statement before the court. She's now in her 30s, and she said that she had felt shame and guilt over what had happened to her all her life. She said that she suffers from anxiety to this day, and she struggles to trust people. She said for the last 20 years her life had been put on hold. I have never been able to move on from the abuse, she said. This has not just impacted my life and what I could have achieved, but also my children's lives. They have become victims, she said, of these men too. She said standing in court was one of the hardest things that she has ever had to do, but she said that she was able to tell her truth, and she said that she now knows that her voice matters because she was believed. Now, a second impact statement was read out today on behalf of Girl A, and she also talked about the lasting impact that this abuse has had on her life. She said that she also suffers from anxiety and PTSD. In fact, she's getting medication to help treat that. She said that these men had devastated her life, but she said that she knew she had to be brave, that she had to tell her story, not just for herself, but for future generations. She said, I have female family members and I want to protect them from the damage that has been caused to me. Now, there were 7 men who went on trial here in total. One of those men, Mohammed Zahid, was 64 now. He abused both of these girls when he groomed and manipulated them through his stall at Rochdale Market. Girl A was also abused by 4 other men. 3 of them were taxi drivers in and around Rochdale at the time. Now, Girl B was abused by 3 of the 7 men, including Zahid, and the jury were told today, after they reached their verdict, they were told earlier this year that one of those perpetrators who they found guilty, Kashir Bashir, had actually gone on the run before the trial started. He was tried in his absence. He's now a wanted man. Now, the judge here today praised both of these women for what he said was extraordinary courage, and this sentencing will continue here at this Crown Court tomorrow.
OK, Emma at Manchester Minchell Street, Crown Court, thank you.
Well, in other news today, the yoga teacher who organised a dance class where young girls were attacked in Southport has been explaining why the door to her studio wasn't locked. In a statement to the public inquiry, Leanne Lucas said locking the doors to the studio on the first floor of a building used by other businesses would have breached fire safety regulations. The inquiry was also told the police had stated that if the door had been locked, the outcomes would have been worse, as a killer may have blocked the entrance. The inquiry continues tomorrow.
Well, next to some good news for workers at Jaguar Land Rover in Merseyside after a cyber attack stopped production last month. The car maker in Halewood has said it will resume some manufacturing production in the coming days. Work stopped at its UK factories following the cyber attack at the end of August.
A firefighter has been seriously injured after part of a building collapsed as crews tackled a blaze at a derelict mill in Greater Manchester. 9 fire engines were called to Pioneer Mill in Radcliffe on Saturday night. Greater Manchester Fire Service said that the firefighter is being treated in hospital.
Well, next tonight, Merseyside police have confirmed they arrested 64 people on suspicion of terrorism offences during demonstrations outside the Labour Party conference in Liverpool.
Yeah, and those protests against the banning of a pro-Palestinian organisation aren't Labour's only headache. There's speculation the Prime Minister could soon face a leadership challenge from the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Barrow.
Well, he also faces an external threat, the rise of Reform, which of course controls Lancashire County Council and also has an MP in our region.
Some flashing images now as our political correspondent Leisha Manali reports on how the stakes for Sir Keir Starmer couldn't be higher.
Don't let these blue skies fool you. This is a party conference under a cloud, and Labour MPs know the stakes are high to clear the air again.
Look, we face a clear choice between unity and national renewal or more division and decline. So yes, I think everyone accepts the stakes are high. That's why this conference is so important, to set out this government's positive agenda on how we're going to rebuild our country.
A lot of what I'm feeling at this conference this year is what we need to do to kind of build confidence back in politics in general. So I genuinely believe we're doing some really good policy delivery. You know, I think I keep looking at sort of the childcare funding we're offering, but telling that story better. I'm hoping that we get some of that nuance out of the conference today and in the next few weeks of making people realise what a Labour government can do.
But this conference already bears the scars of recent scandals. The agenda must have been printed a few weeks ago because it includes a welcome from Angela Rayner, now of course the ex-Deputy Prime Minister who had to resign after underpaying a housing tax. But that's just one page in the difficult story of the government's first year, and some are wondering whether it's time for another North West face to write the next chapter. So is the King of the North now eyeing up a different throne? Andy Burnham claims he wants to keep a low profile this week, though it sounds like the political threat remains high.
We need all people feeling part of this Labour government, and that's why we need to have this debate now. And it's why, to those today making calls for simplistic statements of loyalty, well, I say, if that closes down the debate we need, I think it's at risk of underestimating the peril the party is in as we get to the polls next May. So I've been accused of all things in the last week, as you can probably see. I've done nothing more than launch a debate.
But launch it he has. Around the conference today, the discussions may be aimed at beating Reform UK, but unless the government can bring those to the left of their own party back on side, their problems are going nowhere. Some North West MPs aren't even going to conference this year, disappointed with the direction their party's taken. What's it been like to be a Labour MP over the last few months?
No question about it, it's been tough. I think everyone would admit that we've made mistakes. Probably mistakes that none of us expected, certainly that weren't in our manifesto. And I think our people are crying out for us to make better choices, and I think they deserve those better choices as well. And what I want to see is us take that sort of fiscal straitjacket off, get away from the Treasury orthodoxy and start being bolder with our vision and our policies.
That sounds very like what Andy Burnham's been saying. Do you think he would make a credible Prime Minister?
I think Andy Burnham is doing a wonderful job job as the Mayor of Greater Manchester. He's a great colleague to have from a political perspective. He did a fantastic job when he was an MP. Of course, there's no current vacancy for an MP slot. There's no by-elections. But of course, if Andy were to come in through a by-election, I think he would make another wonderful MP. And of course, if there was a leadership challenge at some point in the future, he'd make a great Prime Minister.
Do you think Keir Starmer is a great Prime Minister?
I think Keir is doing the best he can under very difficult circumstances, and as a Labour MP I fully support him. I want him to succeed.
And tomorrow he'll have the chance to set out his stall. The Prime Minister was all smiles as he arrived in Liverpool, but his task now is to rally the troops who aren't cheering and try to put the party spirit back into his party. Leisha McNally, ITV News.
Well, there's of course more from Labour in Liverpool on the ITV News at 6:30 with Geraint.
Coming up on the evening news, the Chancellor hints at tax rises in her big speech, but who will feel the pain? We have the latest from the Labour conference. How COVID affected our children. The inquiry hears it disrupted the very fabric of childhood. And Europe's Ryder Cup glory and how bad crowd behaviour left a sour taste. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Chris, we'll have more on the Ryder Cup in just a moment. Well, next, it's World Heart Day, and we've got a sad but also a very hopeful story for you. It's about a young woman called Chloe Flevel from Oldham who was diagnosed with a really serious heart condition called cardiomyopathy when she was just 29.
Yeah, in very simple terms, it meant she had an enlarged heart. It left her struggling to breathe and walk. It was also the condition which had claimed the life of Chloe's sister Anna, who very sadly was only 2.5 when she died before Chloe was born.
Yeah, but hope came from an unexpected source. Chloe was watching telly one day when she saw an item about stem cell treatment for cardiomyopathy, and it changed her life. She came into the studio for a chat and told me all about it.
When I was first diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy when I was 29, my world got very, very small. I couldn't walk very far. I was struggling to go upstairs. I'd met a gentleman called Barry Newman at a conference, and he'd looked particularly poorly and really, really unwell. And one evening there he was on my television screen looking really happy and really healthy. And he was talking about stem cell therapy through the Heart Cells Foundation at St Bart's in London. And I thought, I need to get some of this treatment. This is what I've been looking for. Yeah.
And so the treatment involves taking stem cells from your hip, is that right?
It is,
and then injecting it into your heart?
Yeah, so you have a daily injection just for 5 days. It stimulates the bone marrow production in your own bones. They then take an aspiration from your iliac crest, so the sticky out bit on your hip. It's relatively painless, very, very quick. They send those stem cells off to a nearby hospital who purify them. They pick the best ones while you go and get ready in theatre. And then they put a cannula into your radial artery in your wrist. You're awake, there's nothing traumatic about it. And they infuse those stem cells into your heart and you're sent home the next day.
And that was 2 years ago, wasn't it? And I have to say, you look absolutely fantastic today. How quickly did you start seeing those results?
Certainly within the first 2 months, I'd been asked to post a letter, driven past a post box and thought, oh, I'm going to have to walk. I'll take the dog. If it takes me all day, then it takes me all day, because that is what would have been the norm. And I was there and halfway back within 7 minutes before I realised I can breathe. I'm not blue, I'm not heaving for breath, I'm not exhausted. And I stood in the middle of the street and phoned my mum and we both cried.
Oh. Just tell us a little bit about Anna. She was your sister, wasn't it? And I know she died from the same condition. Just tell us a little bit about her.
She did. So I grew up knowing about my older sister Anna. Unfortunately, I never met her. She died when she was 2.5. She was waiting for a heart transplant, which is the only known cure for dilated cardiomyopathy. And before Anna died, she'd had treatment in hospital. She'd been looked after really well by my parents. And I grew up listening to these stories about how loved she was and how stubborn she was, and maybe I inherited that, a little bit of those characteristics. So when I was diagnosed at age 29, it was a massive shock for everybody.
Do you ever think now, looking back, what if I hadn't seen that report on telly?
Absolutely. If I hadn't have seen Barry and got in touch with the Stem Cell Foundation, you know, my parents and my brothers, they lost one child and one sister, and they could have very well lost me too.
Thank you so much for coming in to see us today. It's fantastic to see you looking so well, and all the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, a real inspiration.
Yeah, had a wave of different emotions watching that. Sadness, but also hope. Wishing Chloe all the very best. Okay, on to sport now, and we have 3 North West rugby clubs in this week's Super League semi-finals, but only just. Hi, Chris.
That's right. There's a famous phrase used by all St Helens fans, that it's never write off the Saints. They have a history of late drama, especially in the playoffs, and they're into the final 4 courtesy of another bit of magic. We're going to show this in full because it was one of the most dramatic moments in playoff history. So Saints were losing 14-12 at Leeds Rhinos in their playoff eliminator, and the final hooter had already sounded, so one more tackle and their season was over. But they desperately kept the ball alive, throwing it around from one side of the pitch to the other, 16 passes trying to find a way through that Leeds defence, until finally space opened up out wide, and it was Shane Wright who scored the winning try. Saints winning 16-14 to set up a semi-final at Hull KR this weekend. Absolute pandemonium on the pitch and in the stands today. Head coach Paul Wellens was still pinching himself.
We're delighted that we've progressed into the next round of the playoffs, and to do it in some such dramatic circumstances probably makes it even more sweeter.
Saints have had some dramatic finishes in the past, but where does that one rank?
Oh, it's right up there with the best of them. Everybody in the ground at that point in the game are thinking that we're dead and buried, and I've got to pay huge credit to the players, because I think they were the only ones that are not thinking that way. And I love the way we kept going at the game. Love the way we kept promoting the ball and kept turning up for each other, and the players got the rewards. I certainly don't plan those types of celebrations. It's obviously, I'm passionate about the team and the town, and I want these players to do well, and sometimes that shows up in different ways. And so I'm certainly not going to make any apologies.
Yeah, nor should he. Great to see that passion from head coach Paul Wellens. And Wigan face Lee in the other semi this weekend. Now, speaking of huge moments, the Ryder Cup was full of them. Southport's Tommy Fleetwood was outstanding all weekend, winning all 4 of his matches on the opening 2 days. He was beaten on the final hole of his singles match, but Europe still won 15-13, with Fleetwood taking the Nicholas Jacklin Award, given to the player who best embodies the true spirit of the event. Well, Tommy Fleetwood's a huge Everton football fan, so he'll know they can climb into the top half of the Premier League tonight if they beat West Ham at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Meanwhile, Manchester United boss Ruben Amorim says he's still confident he can turn the club's fortunes around. A 3-1 defeat at Brentford has left United 14th in the Premier League and heaped yet more pressure onto the manager's shoulders, with former club captain Wayne Rooney saying on his podcast that the soul has gone from the club.
When you win, you feel that everything, the momentum is here. When you lose, you go back to the same place and you fight again for one win that can help you to create a momentum. So, guys, I'm always doing my job. If I win, I'm in the different state of mind. That is normal, but I'm always confident because I know what to do.
It was a frustrating weekend for Liverpool too, whose lead at the top has been cut back to 2 points. After starting the season with 5 straight wins, they were beaten 2-1 at Crystal Palace, who scored deep into injury time. Erling Haaland scored 2 late goals to help Manchester City to a 5-1 win over Burnley. Pep Guardiola says there's a great team spirit building at City since the new signings came on board.
Well, with these new players, they have to know that this club has a culture that we have to win. Otherwise, it will not happen what they happened in the last decade. That we have been by far the best team in England in terms of numbers and everything. But when you arrive in this club in the training session and all the patterns, or all the mentality that you have to be every training session, do your best, the players feel that.
There's one thing that you need to always hold on to, and that's a togetherness, an understanding, a real rational thinking, and a constant belief that you keep improving and you stand up to them challenges. And I've got a group here what I know will do that.
Paul Heckingbottom's Preston North End remain in the playoff spots in the Championship. They're still inside the top six, despite being held to a goalless draw at home by Bristol City. Elsewhere, Blackburn lost, as did Blackpool, Bolton and Wigan in League One, while Stockport had to settle for a 1-1 draw with Reading. In League Two, Fleetwood were 4-2 winners over Colchester. Barrow made it back-to-back wins as they beat Crawley Town 2-1. Tranmere are 5 games without a win after their goalless draw with Cambridge. There were defeats for Accrington and Salford, while Oldham were held to a 1-1 draw by Barnet. But Crewe enjoyed their first league win in 6 matches, beating Notts County 2-1. Liverpool are still looking for their first win in the Women's Super League. After 3 games, they're still on 0 points and near the foot of the table, after Manchester United extended their unbeaten start with a 2-0 victory. Elsewhere, Everton lost at Brighton, but Manchester City were convincing 4-1 winners over London City Lionesses. Well, now to more details on the funeral for Manchester's boxing legend Ricky Hatton. A memorial route for the former 2-weight world champion will start in his hometown of Hyde on October 10th. Starting at 9:45 a.m, it'll take him past his favourite pubs, the gym he owned and the gym where he trained. Then it heads to Manchester's AO Arena, the scene, of course, of his greatest victory over Costa-Zoo, and arrives at Manchester Cathedral for the funeral at 12 noon before one final trip past his beloved Etihad Stadium. Well, the tributes haven't stopped since Ricky died at home 2 weeks ago. Last night, there was a memorial in Hyde, while at Wembley, Oasis dedicated their song Live Forever to the hitman. Lovely tribute from the lads who used to carry Ricky's belts into the ring with him. Well, finally to rugby union and 3 Sale players who are now world champions. A try from Sharks' Amy Cockayne helped England beat Canada 33-13 in the World Cup final. Club mates Morwenna Talling and Holly Aitchison were also in the squad, which lifted the trophy in front of nearly 82,000 fans at Twickenham. Sale's Leah Bartlett was at the final and believes this is a huge moment for the women's game.
It was a kind of a pinch me moment just to see like 81,000 people down to watch women's rugby. It was crazy, and yeah, not something that I thought I would necessarily see in my career. Having world champions in the team, you can only thrive off of them and like what you can take away and learn from them as well. I think it will be hugely exciting. So yeah, if people should just come down and watch, I reckon.
Absolutely. What a great achievement for England. Fantastic scenes at Twickenham.
Yeah, and what a weekend of sport, Chris. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Now, we're off to the Cumbrian port of Barrow now to catch up with the postmistress who is putting her stamp of approval on TikTok.
Yeah, Marianne Livesey delivers a weekly video onto the social media platform every week to bring a smile to her customers' faces. And already she has thousands of followers.
When she's not behind the counter, Marianne is strutting her stuff on the shop floor, as our very much first-class citizen, Paul Crone, discovered.
Hello, how can I help?
Running a busy post office is all well and good, but trying to catch a word with the boss, Marianne Livesey, is like trying to put a second-class stamp on a milkshake.
I won't be a second, I've just got a customer, I won't be a sec. I'm really sorry, I've just got another customer, I won't be a second. I'm really sorry, just one more.
Good job, Marianne. Lets her posts on TikTok do the talking. Each week there's a new video done before her post office opens in Salthouse, Barrow, just a few minutes from the Cumbrian town centre.
I spend all weekend thinking, what song am I going to dance to on Monday? But so that's how I spend my weekends, thinking, I could do a bit of that. I'll do a bit of that. I'll look at what's trending, try and dance along to it, realise that I can't do it, and stick to my blow-up microphone instead.
Marianne sees her post office as a privilege to run rather than a job, a fondness for her customers and her pride in her work visible for all to see.
She's very kind, she's polite, she'll do anything for you, anything at all, with efficiency. She's very good. I couldn't recommend her too much. She's so good.
I love the customer element and I love the community element, because I grew up round the corner from here. I lived round here all my life, and we live in Dalton now, but we lived round here for a long time. And I just love it that the customers that come in have known me since I was like this big. Like Joyce has known me since I was this big, and I just love the helping people out, and that because that's what we do.
Every lonely city where I hang my hat ain't as half as pretty.
Sometimes our Marion does come unstuck on TikTok.
Normally when I look at the ones where people are doing all these dancing trends, and I think, yeah, I could give that a go. Do it? No. Ends in the drafts, and then it'll stay there forever.
And with that in mind, perhaps I could help out with her latest post. Look away now if you're nervous. Well, that cleared the shop. Oopsie. Paul Crone, ITV News, Barrow.
Absolutely not, Crony. Absolutely not. We need to get Marianne in the studio to show some of those dance moves, busting some moves there. Love it.
Yeah, and we saw there Marianne was putting on the Christmas stuff because there's only 87 days to go.
Don't say the C word. Here's James.
Mum, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, good evening. Started off nice this morning, lots of sunshine around. It wasn't too long before the clouds arrived. We're going to see this sort of flip-flop between brighter weather and cloudy weather over the next few days. And whilst the high pressure keeps things generally settled, generally keeps these systems to the north and west of us, it is only just, because we will get these little glancing blows. Eventually we'll start to see the rain nudging into the northwest as we head towards the end of the week, and then lots more rain for Friday. But as far as tonight goes, we've got a little bit of cloud drifting around, some breaks, one or two little drizzly showers might just graze us. Probably more likely to see some of that for the Isle of Man there. Temperatures, because of the cloud, we're going to see less in the way of mist and fog, and it's also going to support temperatures to lows of around 7 to 9 Celsius. Tuesday then, again, a bit of a mixed bag. Like I say, some bright spells, some sunnier spots, variable amounts of cloud. Every so often you might just get a light shower just skirting by. Bit breezy for the Isle of Man there, but elsewhere we are just away from that. So lighter breezes. If you can stay in the sunshine, you're looking at highs of around 16 to 18, so slightly up on today. Now that sort of do-si-do of these fronts continues through Wednesday and Thursday, so generally cloudier. Still not doing too badly temperature-wise, and certainly much milder nights. Then Friday, double dose really. I think we'll see some rain pushing through Thursday night into Friday, and then Friday itself set to be a bit of a soaker. And as things stand at the moment, it looks as though there's going to be plenty more wet weather as we head into the weekend. That's your lot. Have a good evening.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
And that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Bye.